I hope everyone's projects are coming along nicely, and I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about what Harmony One might do to help your project and allow your users to make hundreds of transactions for less than $1 using all the same code and all the same tools like MetaMask that you're used to. So who am I? I'm Edd Norris. I'm a governor for the Developer DAO over on the Harmony ONE Blockchain. I'm here today to talk to you about the surprisingly simple process of taking an existing NFT Dapp and bringing it over to the Harmony ONE network so that it can be faster and more affordable. So let's get started. In this video, I'm going to be stepping through things that you should be familiar with if you're an experienced blockchain developer, but also getting into the details so that if you're just familiar with web development, you will be able to see more or less just how easy it is to deploy something to a blockchain, especially one like Harmony. The idea is just to show how simple and transformative it can be to even dual deploy to Harmony and other chains. So if you've already built something using Web3 or EVM, there's basically no work needed. So in our case, we're taking a super simple NFT project that was created a couple years ago by Dapp University, and we're going to step through. And the idea was that with something so simple, there's only about 10 files. You should be able to actually read every line of code and get the idea of what's going on here. And then link into the description to what we're basing this off of. But and also shout out to Dapp University and Gregory and all the work that they do just educating people on blockchain dev for years. So let's take a look at what we're talking about here. Dapp University. So if you go to GitHub, Dapp University /NFT, this is where we're starting from today. Basically, this isn't any part of the code that we're going to be writing. We're just going to be using this as an example for any NFT project that you want to pull in or build for yourself and bring over to Harmony. So it's sort of a placeholder. So this tutorial basically assumes that you either have planned an NFT project on an Ethereum or EVM based blockchain, or you already have an NFT project on Ethereum or its many sidechains. So because Harmony is EVM compatible, all of the code that you would be writing for the project you're planning to make would actually be the same code that you would deploy on Harmony, minus a few exceptions here and there. So all we really need to do is take your existing code, or this existing code, and deploy it on the Harmony network instead of Ethereum. It's just that simple. So in order to get you going, there's a lot of different setups you can have to make this work, but I'm just going to show you what I'm working with, and you can kind of draw conclusions from there for your own setup. I'm working on a Mac. I'll be using Visual Studio Code. I'll be using Git in the terminal. You're going to need Node.js and Ganache-cli, as well as Truffle. We'll be using Truffle version 5.3.0 today, but that's just recommended. If you need to use a different one, it's probably fine. All right, so first thing we're going to do is actually spin up a virtual version of the blockchain. And so Ganesh allows us Ganache, that's it. I knew I was saying that wrong. Sorry. Ganache actually allows us to create a portable blockchain by forking the existing blockchains that are out there. And so what we're going to do is actually just ask it to do that with the Harmony testnet. So we'll say Ganache-cli fork, or F, and then we're going to give it the address of the Harmony testnet. shard 0, Harmony. And then we need to give it our network ID for Harmony, which is 16667000000. And away we go. So what should happen here is that it should spin up an alternate version and give us a local host address to reference. And that's exactly what it's done. So if you're following along, you should see something somewhat similar. These are generated wallet addresses that it gave us to work with, basically. And so the reason you would want to do this is so that you could basically test any kind of code and just see how things work without actually showing it up on the network. Otherwise, you'd have to deal with private keys and managing funds every time you wanted to work. This allows you to kind of move all of that aside. Okay, so now that we have our forked version of the network running for our local node, we can actually move on to... All right, now that we've got that set up, let's go ahead and pull down this starter code. So we're going to grab the address. We're going to go back to our terminal. We need to leave this one open because that basically keeps the server or the blockchain available for us to test with. But we can just jump over to a new tab and we'll go ahead and clone the Dapp University example. And we're going to leave it with the NFT name for now. That works. So what we're going to do is we'll jump into the NFT folder and we'll ask it to open up a Visual Studio Code. All right. So like I said, this is a very, very simple project. It is entirely meant just to show the principles behind blockchain. But the same exact code in a more complicated NFT project should work just the same. So you should be set up to deploy on Ethereum right now. But what we're going to do is set it up to work on Harmony. So instead of testing on the normal ports, we're going to test on our own ports. And we're also going to connect our new wallet seed phrases that we generated with our Ganache-cli. So we'll go ahead and grab one of these private keys and we'll put this in here just for now. And then we'll grab our mnemonic that was generated for us and we'll put this here for now. So there's one thing we need to do. We need to ask Truffle to unbox or set up our Truffle environment. And so the Truffle environment that we will be working with will just be a standard ERC 7 or ERC 20 token example. And so what we'll do is Truffle unbox Metacoin. This is a non-empty project, correct? We do want to proceed. Downloading our box. We do not want to overwrite our migrations. Our migrations are great. We do not want to overwrite our tests. Our tests are great. And we do not want to overwrite our truffle-config because we're about to anyways. Cool. So now our project knows where it expects to be testing and using our contracts. So what we're going to do is remove the ones that they generated for us and move the ones that we got from our example and move the ones that we got from our example into that contracts folder. Perfect. So now, let me just leave that alone for now. Now we're ready to compile our contracts and against the network that we just spun up. So first things we need to do is set up the connection to the network we just spun up. So if we go back to Brave, and let's just ask Harmony, the Harmony documentation. So we'll do Harmony docs, and we're looking to deploy truffle. Compile and deploy using truffle. So if you find the Harmony documentation, you should be able to navigate yourself to deploying on Harmony and then using truffle. So if you haven't already installed it, you're going to want to do that now. And we already did our unboxing. So what we do need to still do is install the Truffle HD wallet, because we're going to use that to unlock our funds using the mnemonic that's generated from the Ganache-cli. So first, we'll go ahead and start that install, and we can do that in the project, or we can actually just do it in our Visual Studio Code terminal. So we'll come in here. Oops. Must not have copied. Okay, come down here to the terminal, give that there, paste, and it should be fine. Okay, while that's happening, we can actually go through and update our truffle config. So we'll grab all this, let's do an easy copy. So we're gonna make some changes, but this is a great place to start. So we'll just start here. Boop. Paste that guy in there. Now, we're not going to need these anymore. And we can take our seed phrase and fill it in here with our mnemonic. And we'll take our private key and add it to this private key. So, something that you'll have to deal with is there's occasionally errors generated when doing an install like this. It's very often not a problem as long as it actually is able to install all the required components. And so it was able to add, and everything that was already set up in the JSON or package.json was also installed. Cool. So now that we've got that, let's go through here, and we're going to do a quick test with the new funds that we were just deposited. And the thing we need to change is that we're not actually going to be testing against the live testnet. We're going to be testing against the local host. And the port is 8545. That is what is expected. Okay, and so we're going to use this testnet har for actually compiling and then migrating or deploying our smart contract. And so how do we do that? Actually, another thing, we can easily jump back into our Harmony documentation. But essentially, it's pretty straightforward. Oops. Truffle compile, truffle deploy. And instead of testnet here, we'll be using testnet har because we're using a local host. Alright, so we'll do truffle compile Well, let's see. Ah, there's a version problem. So the version that we're working with was this guy. This is what the box recommended we use. So we're just going to go ahead and see if our color contract minds making that update. Give it another compile. Awesome. Our contracts check out, and now we can actually see if it's working as we expect it. Awesome. Our test script is still working. Nothing's confused. Great. So now we can do a deploy or a migrate. And we're going to say network testnet har. So this should try to test to make sure our scripts are compiled correctly and attempt to put them on the network. Alright, let's take a look. Great, we have fully success. You'll notice it says ETH. It's basically just because Truffle is expecting ETH, but because it's actually using the Harmony network, it's technically 1. Alright, everything looks good. It happened really fast. Remaining balance is as such, and it costs 1/20th of a 1, which is crazy cheap. So now that that's deployed, the front end code that this project is using, which is very simple. Bring this back down. So yeah, if you want, take a look at the Dapp University example. It'll actually walk through what all of this means. But again, because of the way Harmony is built, it all runs on the Ethereum EVM code base. So you can use all of this code. Nothing needs to change. It is pulling your ABIs. So right now, let's see. It created these contracts and we rebuilt them. It's in our build folder. So what we can do now is, because our box is set up to build the contracts here, we can go back into our app.json, and instead of getting it from the ABI location, we can go ahead and delete this. We're going to move our build contracts into our source directory. So basically this is just, yes, you can actually set this up to work, but for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to move these in there. Alright, so we're rebuilding our contracts, and then we're making sure that we're using the ones that we just rebuilt. And now we just need to tell our app where these contracts are. So we're going to say contracts, color. And that's the only change you need to make. And really, you wouldn't have had to make it. So let's take a look. If we go back to, so everything's really set up to go. The only thing really we need to do is deploy our front end so we can see what we're working with. So npm run start. That maybe we can try. Okay, maybe that's why. Cool. So we're on this local host. We we have a wallet with 1,700 ETH, and what we can do now, I think this is just some old code, like a old wallet setup that I had. And so what we'll do now is we'll go back to the wallets that it set up for us, and we will grab a private key, and we'll jump back to MetaMask. We will import an account, give it the private key that it generated. All right, and so this is exactly the wallet that was used to create this contract and put it on the network. And so what we can do, any wallet can mint, but what we're going to do here, so we are connected to the local host. We are using the wallet that they generated for us. It's connecting to this contract. It sees the contract. I wonder if it was just a bad color value or something. Oh, okay. Well, it's working now, so I'm not sure what happened that first time. But as you can see, it is connecting to the local host, and the estimation for the gas is still, it's actually in 1, but it's showing up as ETH because it's really interchangeable. Alright, and so it sent off that transaction. You can actually see it went through. So this page is set up, and there is our token on the blockchain. So let's see if this auto asset finder is going to find it. Well, it's there. So if we notice, this is working. It seems to be as expected. So we can go ahead and go through the real process of deploying on Mainnet. And so, or even just the regular testnet. So we'll get a few tests, make sure this is still working as expected. Yep, fairly black. Okay, and so all we need to do to take this project to deploy it on Mainnet is we'll go back to we'll create a new terminal. We're just going to we're going to use the same mnemonic, but it's going to be empty to boot. So what we're going to do is we're going to see that wallet I just unlocked. So I just grabbed this wallet using the private key it gave me. The private key is still valid on the actual testnet. So if I switch the network over to the actual testnet, it says we have nothing, which is accurate. And so what we can do is I'll actually go about it like the normal way. So we'll go to Harmony, let's see, explore.harmony.one. We will Alright, put in the wallet that our seed phrase generated, and let's get our Harmony address. So our Harmony address is used for just a few things, and one of them is, we'll say faucet.pops.1. This is how we get testnet tokens on Harmony ONE. So I took my MetaMask address. I put it into the Harmony blockchain to get my custom one address, and then I asked for 1001 from the faucet. So, unless I pasted the wrong address, should be fine. Might just take a second. There. So now we've got 1001 to deal with, and so we'll go back to our code, and we're going to attempt to migrate to the actual testnet for now. All right, one more go. All right. All right. Total deployments, our migration script, and our color script. All right, so we're now officially on the testnet. So we lost a little bit of one, very small amount, and we're on the testnet. So if we go back, and so because I didn't set up the actual rebuild structure, we'll need to move our contracts over again after the rebuild. Okay, that's right, it doesn't use that. So okay, so we'll move these guys into there, and we're going to replace them. Cool. And from there, we'll go back to our page. Now you notice that our color is gone, and that means things are working as expected, because we're no longer on the fake testnet, we're on the actual testnet. And so if we wanted to come in here and say, oops, 77, pull that mint on the actual testnet on this local host, but we're on the actual testnet. Pull confirm. Give it a second. Looks like it went through properly. Give the page a refresh, and there we go. So now, just like that, we're on the testnet. And if we wanted to take it to the next logical step, you can do the exact same thing on the mainnet. So we can come in here. Oops. Come in here. The T is the signifier for the mainnet, and then 0 shard. And so for this, we need some actual money, but only about one for several contract deployments. And so what we can do is we will use the same private key, and if we go back to our wallet address and switch over to mainnet, yep, we don't have any money. So to basically make this work, I will now use this made up test wallet, but I'm going to send just one over to it for testing. There it is. Alright, so now if we go back to our code, we are set up on the mainnet with this address that we used. And alright, so this should work. And okay, there. Alright, so it's now doing the exact same thing we just did a moment ago, but on mainnet. And so it's going to take a moment, process the transaction, redeploy our color contract, and we'll still have to tell, but it looks like the transaction is going through. So as soon as this is done, we'll have our new contracts built, and we'll be able to move them over so that our front end knows how to interact with the network. Excellent. So let's grab these and bring them down. Yes. Yes. There is a really normal way to just have that done automatically, but I thought it would be helpful to actually show that they're different and that they go through a process. And when you do the migration, they become different and made to be accessible by your Dapp. Yeah, watch the Dapp University tutorial if you have any questions. Alright, so now we have our network, our contracts deployed. We have the JSONs that explain how to communicate with them. And so let's go check out our front end. And our colors are missing again, which is a great sign, because now that we're on mainnet and we have 1.1, we can go through and we're gonna say hash 824213. Go. Alright, I have no idea what color that is. Hopefully it's a good one. And so on mainnet, spending 1,000th of a 1, 3,000th of a 1, and we're good. Boom. You just deployed your Ethereum project on the Harmony network. Your users can now easily perform hundreds of transactions a day without going broke. Thanks for coming. Good luck with your projects. Bye.